Why would you grow things that you can't get at a grocery store?
Well, there's more to life than just what's presented in front of you, because people aren't meant to stay the same. This one here is a fig, as you can all see. This one is a cultivar, and it's called a Flaco Bianco.
Hold that right up. Nobody can see it. It's on the ground. There you go.
It's a long story.
I've got time. Where does the Angry Goose come in?
Well,
when we started farming or homesteading, our goal was to grow as much food as possible. There are thousands and thousands of farmers growing for billions of people across the world, so why couldn't I grow enough food for our little family? But we started to realize that growing things like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, even lettuce has proved difficult for us. So we started to focus on things like strawberries, things like plums, and different trees that come back every year that require a little less maintenance than buying seeds, planting them, weeding them, tending them a ton like a regular garden does. That's why I reached out last year to Will, who grows a ton of exotic stuff you can't get in the grocery store. Some figs and chestnuts, and he grows a ton of different fruits. So here's an interview with Will that we did last year to talk about his little orchard, his Angry Goose Acre, where he grows a lot of food and a lot of really weird plants.
my name's Will Young. This is the Angry Goose Acre. We're in Upham, New Brunswick. You've never heard of it, I can assure you. We're close to St. John. We're in Zone 5B for the garden heads. We grow a huge amount of stuff here. People in New Brunswick don't even realize what they're missing. And I'm glad that you have a great chance to come in and you get to see a lot of this cool stuff. I mean, 14 types of grapes. We have 12, I think, to 14 types of figs here. There's so much stuff we have, I've lost count. And all the garden heads out here, even you know, you need to label everything. Don't be me. Don't be me.
How did you get started with gardening or farming? Was it something that you've been doing since a little kid? Your grandfather or grandmother took you out?
Well, Ben, I started off when I was a young kid. A lot of people try to experiment with different plants and stuff to grow. The more appropriate one I'll give today is when I was in high school, and the girl that I was with at the time, her mother bought a tiller for me for a gift, which was really her buying the tiller for me to use to make her first garden. And she showed me how to do a hardwood graft of a rhododendron. And she was really rough. She just grabbed some peat moss off the ground, she slapped it together, and she taped it up. And she said, in about 2 or 3 months, you'll have a tree. And I was just a kid. I was 17 years old. I didn't know nothing. I'm from the city slicker. And I was like, yeah, you're crazy. You just killed this plant. Why'd you do that? And sure enough, man, at the end of the summer, she was like, here you go. This is yours. And I was blown away. And that really is what I started to get into plants. And I mean, I started off getting into the tropical stuff, and we had a bunch of stuff. And then life, gets in the way, and kids, commitments, career, stuff like that. But as you get older, you yourself, you always go back to who you were. And I kind of rediscovered plants when COVID kicked off, and I was sick and tired of buying subpar food. I love American chestnuts or Chinese chestnuts to snack on. I really enjoy figs, but and everybody out there's done it. You go and you spend, $8, $9 on a fruit, something that you just want to snack on, and most of it's either unripe, rotten, or it just tastes gross. And then I always just thought to myself, there's got to be a better way, man. There's got to be something. And then I opened my eyes during COVID, and you see certain foods, vegetables and fruits, they were never in stock. We've all been there. You go and you're like, I'm not paying $8 for a head of lettuce. We've all done it. And we just said, you know what? We're going to try and grow some stuff. So we did like everybody does. You go and you buy some raspberries and some pears and some apples. But then we thought, let's just try the things that you don't see. And we got all kinds of different grapes. We got 9 types of blueberries. We got at least 7 types of rubus, salmonberry, blackberry, raspberries, loganberries, boysenberry, on and on. And the thing is when you actually get to pick that first fresh anything, whether it's a grape, fig, which you're gonna get to try later today, I'm excited for that, you really do get to realize food that we get in the grocery store is not anything more than sustenance. When you bite into something fresh off the vine or fresh off the tree, that's nutrition. It's peak ripeness. You can't get better than that.
For me, it was strawberries. When I had a strawberry from the grocery store a couple of years ago, it was probably during COVID as well, where we just got a pack of strawberries, like perfect, they're great, they're red, we brought them home, and they tasted like cardboard.
Yeah.
And then the year after that, I went to a strawberry farm and picked, like you said, fresh off the vine, and they were delicious.
Be honest, did you sneak some while you were picking?
Oh, always, yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it's always two for me, one for the bucket. 2 for me, 1 for the bucket.
And there's nothing like it. I imagine your face just lit right up.
Oh, yeah, the sweetness, the texture, everything is completely different when you can pick it yourself compared to bringing it in from the grocery store. But what's the difference then between stuff that like you grow here versus what we would buy at the grocery store?
I think that's a great question. I think that every person, I don't really consider us a big time. I don't consider us much more than a small backyard grower. We can devote that time to it. Like, you know, you'll see me picking weeds as soon as I get home from work. I'll be looking after the plant. You know, this one needs a little more water. It's that extra bit of care. You can't get that with, you know, dozens of employees on thousands of acres, and the time is money. Here, the money is in the time I put in and that individual level, and you can't get that. You can't replicate that on a commercial scale. You can't.
So it started with a girlfriend's mother's garden, growing things that you could already buy at the grocery store, but you've expanded into things like, I've never seen a fig at the grocery store, they may sell them, but there's so many things here that not only is quality different, but why would you grow things that you can't get at a grocery store?
Well, there's more to life than just what's presented in front of you. I mean, the only constant in life is change. It's a big thing I say all the time, because people aren't meant to stay the same. Your taste buds are gonna change for things. I remember the first time I had a currant, and they are, mind you, it was very unripe. But I mean, as I've gotten older, your taste buds mature. There's certain things you're really into. You like that little bit of bitter at the end, or you like that rhubarb jam that you thought your grandmother was crazy to make. All those things, as you mature, they kind of come into play, and you can't find a lot of these things at the grocery store to expand. So if you're only doing the same thing over and over, you're not really going to learn. So I mean, we started off with me being fed up with chestnuts and figs, and we've expanded to about 170 trees, shrubs, vines, and canes, and cactus, because we want to try and grow everything as fresh as you can. And just like you want to serve your family, then every night you want to serve them the best that you can grow. That's the goal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's something that we've spoken about time and time again, that we've tried to get into more and more foods that'll be better for our families, and started to get into more medicinals. And I think there's some here that you use for medicinal use as well. Yeah,
we do use a few things. I know everybody's really into elderberry. I'm not a super big fan of that myself. My partner Melissa, she loves to grow mullein. She has COPD, and she likes to mix it in with her tea and her coffee. I can say this much: she would rarely get more than 3 or 4 hours sleep a night, and now she can actually sleep up to 8 hours just because of just growing a simple plant.
Wow.
And she was on like 3 or 4 puffers, and now she's down to 2 of them. And I mean, ideally it's not going to cure the COPD, but it's going to help her manage it better, especially as we all get older.
So other than those medicinals, have you noticed, either for yourself or Melissa, has it been something that eating more of your fresh food and vegetables, or even the eggs from the geese, is it something that you feel better overall now?
Oh, 100%. And the reason why I say that is because, and I'll even use potatoes, for example. We all go to the store and you buy that same 10-pound or 10-kilo bag of russet potatoes, probably from PEI, no disrespect. But we've grown a few different types here. We've grown Yukon Gold. We actually have what's called Peruvian finger potatoes, or like a little purple potato. I mean, you wouldn't think that something so small would taste so good. And on top of that, it's a lot more nutritious because you're not letting it sit in a bag for months or weeks, what have you. It's right there. The nutrition's just right there. You just got to cook it. And I mean, it makes the difference. It truly does make the difference when it's picked peak of ripeness. I mean, you can't top it.
The flavor and the entire profile of the fruit or the vegetable just tastes entirely different, as opposed to being shipped from halfway across the world to get here.
Absolutely, man. And later on today, we're going to get you to try. I don't have a whole lot of figs that are ripe, but we got one. I've been saving it for you, Ben. I've been saving it for you, brother. And I'm pretty convinced that you're going to want to try and grow your own. For sure, man. It's well worth it.
So is this something that you've been able to make money at? Like, is this your full-time gig, or?
No, absolutely not. My main occupation is I work in construction. I also work part-time at a local health center. And what we did is we kind of stumbled into it. Really is I had a couple of fig trees, and they were getting a little too tall, a little too hard to manage. So I said, well, I'll just cut them down. And then I did some YouTubing, and I discovered a gentleman by the name of Ross Rowdy. He's down in the States. He's like a fig influencer. And he was talking about cuttings. And I'm like, well, I could do that. And he called it the old Italian man way. You go and you cut it and you just stick it in the soil and it'll take whatever. And it did. Like, man, I didn't know anything about this stuff. Like, the more in depth you go, the more you learn. And I tried it and it took off. And I didn't know what to do with all these figs, right? So I put up a little ad on Facebook, and next thing you know, I had 15, and I sold out within that day. And now I have a wait list. Like right now, I have a wait list of 30 people just waiting for fig cuttings. And nobody really offers that around here, and I have different varieties, and it's like that, I would hope, with every fruit. I mean, you know yourself, you go to that certain plant that's in your garden, you're like, oh yeah, this one makes the best berry, or these ones taste the best, right? And that's what I want for everyone. Like everyone that buys these plants, a lot of these you can't get in a grocery store or a big box store. You can't go to the small time nursery because a lot of these things, they just can't bring it to scale. They can't make money or what have you. And it's the little small time growers like yourself and me and the backyard people that a lot of these different things, we're able to make it work. I mean, you're never going to be a millionaire doing this, let's face it. But you're going to eat good. I can tell you that right now. Damn, eat good.
And it's not about the money either, even for us. Like we've said time and time again, that we don't do this because we're going to get rich off of farming or we're going to get rich off of making these videos, but it's to be able to feed our family and to feel good, to have something that you've grown in the ground and be able to pick it and taste delicious.
And I think, man, like honestly, like for you, Ben, like I think at the end of the day, like you and your wife, like you guys work so hard to make all these things in your garden grow. And then you guys get to go into your kitchen and you guys get to make it together. And you guys get to sit down as a family together. And you guys get to eat the most nutritious meal that you could all have. And the most important thing is you're doing it together, man. That, like it all comes together. It all meshes. It's all important, you know? And I think a lot of families nowadays, even if you're in a little apartment, Ben, I think you could even agree, man, just trying to grow something. You're only going to be out your time, and everybody's got a little bit of time to give, just a little.
Okay, expand on that, because that is something that I have been very passionate about and aggressive with people on. Is people will say, because I'll say it on the internet, I'll say you should be growing no matter where you live. And people say, I live in an apartment, I don't have a balcony, how do I do anything? So how do people grow anywhere? You've got pots all up on your back deck, your front deck, everywhere around here. So how can somebody in a limited space grow just about any? Because I don't think you've always been here.
No. I've been in a lot of different places. My background when I first started in construction was flipping in small time apartment buildings, you know, or buying the shabby house on the block. So I never really had a lot of time to devote. But as I've gotten older, I've been able to spend a little bit more time. Now the thing is, you don't want anybody to set themselves up for failure, right? So if you're in an apartment, don't be growing no mangoes, apple trees. Try to grow something that's appropriate. Like You could get, like, for example, a small high bush blueberry, a small deck-worthy mulberry. You could even get a small, what they call a dwarf or semi-dwarf apple or pear or cherry, something that'll stay small, something that you can learn and experiment with. You're not going to get thousands of pounds of fruit, but you're going to get fruit that you grew, that you put the love into, that you get to enjoy and hopefully share.
I can't help but notice you didn't mention microgreens. How do you feel about microgreens?
I love microgreens, but the problem is I like to eat. So we had a walk-in closet at one point. We totally converted over to an indoor grow space for microgreens. But I mean, I just eat way too much. So we do grow them a little bit here. Melissa and myself, we really enjoy romaine. We also enjoy kale. A lot of people aren't, you get older, you appreciate these things. But, you know, you got to grow things that are appropriate and that you're going to eat. Yeah. If you're not going to eat it, don't bother growing it. But it's always important to give everything a little bit of a try. I mean, what are you going to be out? A pot, $2 or $3 in soil, and a little bit of time. I mean, it's a cheap hobby. And a lot of people don't realize that at the end of the day, it's one of those few hobbies that's going to give you something back, you know? And I mean, it sounds a little over the top, and I am a little animated, but it is something that people should be excited about.
And I think some people can get wrapped, just to go back to the microgreens, I think some people can get wrapped up in, oh, I need this to be a business, this is my side hustle, I'm going to make this, sell a ton of it. But you're a fruit and nut guy, based on here.
Absolutely. I mean, I really enjoy microgreens, but I myself, I kind of see that as not my thing. If you're not really passionate about it, it's just going to be one of those hobbies that just goes to the wayside. But I mean, all these other things, anybody that knows me will tell you I'm a long game person. I look at the 10, the 20-year plan out. That's just how I am. So, I mean, a microgreen for me, like, I love to eat them, but holy, I'd have to grow a lot of them. So that's my thing. But people that do grow them, like I believe there's a place in St. Stephen, they've recently started growing microgreens to supply, and I think that's incredible because 20 years ago, nobody was doing that. I think we need more people trying it. And at some point in somebody's business for microgreens or insert whatever, you're gonna have that tipping point where you find that economy of scale, or you're gonna find your mix. Like I think they're selling to restaurants and stuff, and I mean, it's a killing for that company because I mean, every restaurant needs microgreens. Everybody needs some type of vegetable.
It all depends on what you want to do. I find at our place, I'm more the animal guy. I love to collect animals. People just give me animals and I can't say no. But
collector.
Nicole loves the plants and loves her vegetable garden, and she loves to baby them because it's, for her, that gives her more value. For me, I love seeing fresh baby piglets because I'm like, oh, something new. That is my new seedling. That is my new something fresh growing on a vine.
Well, you know, I hear bacon seeds are very, very good. And I think that's great. And you probably also utilize some of the aspects of the animal side for your plants. So, I mean, again, it's something that meshes and it really helps you to make everything work.
If you had to choose one or maybe a few of your plants, which ones would be your favorites and why?
Oh, you don't do that to me. It's a super hard question, man. I mean, there's so much to plants. I'm passionate about the unique, the endangered, and the exotic. Those things kind of have a place in my heart because there's certain things that you'll never see very often. And like when we take you through our little walkthrough of like pure American chestnut trees and the story behind those and why they're so rare now, or how we've managed to acquire some species of plants from like China and Indonesia that nobody's even ever heard of, let alone if you go on the internet, you don't find a lot of information on. It's just one of those things, you just go with it. Figs are a big thing. I never thought we would be this into figs, but people are really into them, and that's surprising. Like you always think of, when I think of New Brunswick, when I think of fruits and vegetables, I think of potatoes, blueberries, maybe rhubarb. There's not really much you think of, right? So it's nice to know, and we need to get the word out to other people, especially with your platform, Ben, that there is more than what's in the grocery store. There's so much more.
Why is that important to get that out?
It's important because at the end of the day, life is all about changes. It's the only thing that's constant. You're going to want to try new things. You're going to want to taste new things. And if you can get that one piece of fruit that's perfectly right, it is going to change at least a couple people's minds that, well, maybe I can try to grow this. And that makes a big difference at the end of the day, because everybody shouldn't be as dependent as we are on the food system as it is. It's just not going to last.
That's really what we noticed throughout COVID in the last few years, like you mentioned earlier, about supply chain delays and things that just simply weren't in the grocery store.
Yeah.
And that's something we try to talk about often is grow anything, grow something, so that if you have that experience, that if it isn't available at the grocery store, you're not going to start, if it is microgreens, do it.
Yes.
That way you know how to grow something, and you can use that knowledge to expand into figs and grapes and all the other little pieces.
Absolutely, man. I mean, you know, whether somebody's trying to grow lettuce or cannabis, or if they're trying to grow a nut tree, a lilac, which most people don't even realize you can eat lilacs. You know, sumac's another great one. People don't even know you can make a lemonade drink out of it. Like, a lot of this information and knowledge 50 years ago was commonplace. And 50 years ago, a lot of us, a lot more than what we are today, were growing right in our backyard, right on our patio, right on our balcony. You could go to Brooklyn, New York, and you'd probably see some Italian family or Croatian or whatever with a fig tree from their area. And I mean, that's important, because there's nothing like knowing where you're from, and especially where your food is coming from.
Absolutely. And how much land you don't have very much land here.
Dude, we have 1 acre and we are jam-packed. As you can see, we got figs here, grapes there, more figs there. We got vegetables there, more figs, pawpaws, persimmon. What else do we have? Josta berry. We have sugarberry. We have a Montrose cherry right there. We have a Bing cherry here. We have a sugar maple right here. All of it. The thing is, you know, I like to make it sound like I'm a great person to grow everything. But for every one success you have, you're going to have lots of failures. And those failures, those are the key points of where you learn. Because not everything is going to be successful. Like I'll show you my blue bean trees here. They're in a sad state. They're super rare, but it was worth the try to experience growing them. I'm still going to try to keep growing them because, you know, it's something that I want to try. If you succeed at everything, that's no fun, you know?
What have been some of your other notable failures along the way of trying to figure all this out?
Life? No.
Sure, it depends on how early you want to start with.
We're going to need a coffee for this one. No, my biggest failure, honestly, was thinking that if you leave something unprotected, animals aren't going to mess around with it. You know, I'll get into my explanation why I'm a big fan of seedlings of types of plants. And the main reason why is because a deer will come along and it's going to eat your plant, and it is going to be heartbreaking. And with seedlings, that's okay, because the plant will just regrow with some time. And I mean...
A seedling as opposed to what?
A seedling as opposed to a cultivar, which would be, for example, a branded type of, like this one here would be a Montreal Blue. This is a known cultivar. This was grown in the wild at some point, and somebody decided this is going to be an excellent plant for food production. That would be a cultivar. A seedling would be, for example, if this was fully ripe, we just let this grow, we take the seeds and we try to grow it. It would be a seedling of a cultivar. That is totally different from a wild seedling. Say if you were walking along the bank down by the river and you seen a grape and you want to pick, that would be a riverbank grape. That's probably wild. And those types of seedlings do have their value. A lot of people don't think so, but in our cold, maritime Canadian climate, they do provide themselves with value, because no matter what happens, deer ravaging them, raccoon, geese, ducks, the weather, the roots will still generate and it'll still keep growing. I mean,
So they're still there season after season, as opposed to something that could be nibbled back and then you're like, well, it's gone now. You have to buy a new one.
yeah, that $60 pear tree that I bought at Superstore grafted is now gone. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with grafted if you can protect them properly. There's absolutely nothing. I just kind of feel that they're more for like, you know, the Bible Belt zone of America where there's a far nicer climate. They can just handle that kind of weather better. Minus 40 with, we'll say, I don't know, a mango tree, ain't gonna fly. Ain't gonna fly with a fig tree either, but the nice thing about that is you get to learn as you evolve in gardening, you can actually see the difference. You can actually learn that. Like 5 years ago, I had no ideas, man. 5 years ago, I had a raspberry patch and we had one blueberry that was here and that was it. And outside of that, we just kept growing. Like these things work, this one doesn't. Oh, it seems the deer really like this type, so we'll skip that one.
Or we'll keep it for hunting season.
Yes, well, we do have one of those apple trees down there and it's great for that. So
When it comes to plants that you want to sort of bring to our climate that aren't necessarily native to it, but you are sort of hardening off. I've heard that you can bring a plant that's not really used to our climate, but make it more resilient. What is the process to doing that?
absolutely. I'm just gonna grab a good little fella for an example. This one here is a
$60
fig.
pear tree that I bought at
You can all
Superstore
see.
grafted is now gone.
This one is a
And I mean,
cultivar.
there's nothing wrong with grafted if you
Bianco.
protect them
If I
properly.
pronounce that
Absolutely.
wrong.
I
Hold
just
that right
kind of
up.
feel that they're
No one
more
can see it.
for
It's
like
This is called a Flaco
you know, the
Bianco.
Bible Belt zone of America where there's a
from
far
northern
nicer
Italy, from my
climate.
understanding.
They can just handle that kind of weather.
The nice thing
Minus
about
40
figs
with, we'll say, I don't
unfortunately, in
know, a mango
by
tree
being in
ain't gonna
Canada,
fly.
we don't quite
Ain't gonna
have
fly
a
with a
for
fig
it.
tree either,
It's like
but
you're saying,
the
with,
nice thing about that is
what we gotta
you
do
get to
is what we
learn
call,
as you
winter prep.
evolve in
Um,
gardening.
Usually
You
what
can
we would
actually
do
see
if
the
this was
difference.
quite a
You
bit
can actually
larger
learn that.
in the
5
ground,
years ago, I had no idea.
you'd want to put some stakes
5
around
years
it.
ago, I had a
Then you'd
raspberry
want to do some
patch,
burlap.
and we had
Three
one
layers.
blueberry that
It
was
just
here.
gives it a little bit more windbreak.
outside
And then
of
I'll
that,
go
you
and I'll
just
rake up some,
keep
some
growing.
hay,
These
some
things
leaves,
work,
and stuff
this
like
one
that.
doesn't.
Put it inside.
The
And then
deer
I'll go and
really
I'll
like
put
this
a couple
type,
more
so
layers on the
keep that
top.
on.
It's all nice
Or we'll
and
keep it
wrapped
for
up.
hunting season.
Usually I would do that.
We do have one of those apple trees down there.
That
It's great.
creates what they call a microclimate.
When it comes
So it's
to
not getting beat by wind
plants
or
that
rain and all that
you
stuff.
want to sort of bring to
And
our climate that aren't
allows
necessarily
plants
native to it, but
normally
you are
would
sort of
never
hardening off. I've heard
consider
that you
growing
can
here
bring a plant that's
to be able to
not really
actually
used to our
survive
climate,
here.
but make it more
Now,
resilient. What is the
another
process to
plant
doing
this
that?
is very
Absolutely.
beneficial
I'm just going to grab a good little fella for an
try to do
example.
with subtropical type plants. They're not just figs, but a lot of
This one
different
here
things.
is a fig.
Is there any other practice? I noticed there's a couple of trees down there that are like painted white. Is there any other practices other than wrapping them and trying to really insulate them?
There's so much. A lot of people back in the day at one point discovered if you used like a whitewash lime paint on the trunk of a tree before winter, that after winter there wouldn't be a bunch of splits on it or cracks and bruises and, you know, entry points for insects, fungus, and infections to get into a tree. So what that white lime wash would do, and you don't have to use white lime wash, Ben, like you could use just some cheap old indoor latex paint, as long as it's white, even a primer. Just put it on the trunk and it avoids all those cracks and pits and everything that insects and pests and viruses can get into. And it really just helps move that growth and progression along a lot faster for you.
But that's not necessarily good for all trees.
No, there's, I've had some trial and error, Ben, not gonna lie. For every success, you often have a lot of failures. I've discovered for apple trees, cherries, pears, plums, a lot of stone fruits in general really do benefit from it. Some of our, what we have for pawpaw, they don't really care for it. They're just one of those unique plants that haven't really had a lot of human help. So they just much prefer for you to leave them alone and they look after themselves, which was it was a hard lesson. I lost a couple off of that one, but apparently some paints will actually kind of block it. And so pawpaw, not so much. Stone fruits, absolutely.
It's interesting how you talk about your plants like they have different personalities and have different temperaments, because I notice that with my animals, and it's very apparent with animals or children that they sort of have, oh, you've got a personality in that pig, or you got a personality in that goat, but all of your plants seem to have different personalities and quirks.
Definitely, man. I think a lot of people, as they garden, because nobody puts a plant down the first time perfect. I don't know how many plants around here I've moved around, and it'd be just because, oh, it doesn't like the afternoon shade, it doesn't like too much sun, all the rest. And it's important to know what a plant prefers, because if you like steak and I'm giving you fish every day, you're not going to be a happy fella. So, and I kind of try to make that same assumption with fruits and vegetables too.
So we've talked a lot about fruits and berries and nuts, but your homestead here is the Angry Goose Acre.
Yes.
Where does the goose come in?
It's a long story.
I've got time. Where does the Angry Goose come in?
Well, our story started off quite a few years back. We have, where we're at here in Upham, it's a little bit of the backwoods, what we'll call the Alabama of Canada. It's not quite the Wild West here, but there's not a lot of people, not a lot of police presence, and people out here really like their space. Unfortunately, some people, when it comes to nature, they don't respect it. And somebody was hunting out of season for Canadian geese, and they actually shot one down, and it decided to call our property home for a little while. So me and my partner Melissa, we noticed that we just thought it was like the other geese, just going around doing its thing. But then we noticed that it didn't want to leave. And I had a neighbor.
Just a sec. I might need you to start that story over again.
Oh, sure, no
You
worries.
go play with Mommy. Darling.
They're probably on a side quest.
No, it's all right. I know you did. Keep an eye on him. Yeah, I know. All right.
The thing is when you live in a remote area, some people don't respect nature. And somebody actually shot down a Canada goose at a season. The Canada goose decided to call our little area home because for some reason he felt safe here. So Melissa called me one evening as I was working late in my construction job, and she said, we have company. So nobody ever comes out our way. Who's that? Well, you see your friend when you get here. Okay. So I get home, it's November. It's late. We all know it gets dark at like 4. So I get home and I don't see a car on the driveway, and I'm like, Melissa, who's here? And I heard the loudest honk of my life. And that was the time that my life changed, because we named him Frank. Frank couldn't fly because he was shot. And we actually just took him in. He was not a nice goose to anybody but Melissa. So there's a trend here that you see of I look after them and they hate me. So, but the thing is we got him, and he did make a difference. I mean, he come around, he was almost housebroken. So we had to get another goose, because apparently you can't have just one goose. So now we have geese, and 2 geese turn to 8 geese really quick. So the chicken math also is relevant for geese, just to let you know. And the thing was, we never thought anything about it. We never thought it was going to change our lives. We never thought it was going to lead to any of all this stuff. But as we seen Frank go along and he would nibble on this and that and stuff, it's like, yeah, okay, well, we get into the plants. We got into a gardening ridiculously. I mean, it's one of those hobbies that can actually pay you back, you know, after you go through trial and error. And that is pretty much where the Angry Goose started from. Is Melissa treated that poor goose like a baby. Now, we did lose Frank, unfortunately, again, where we are remote out here. We have coyotes, we do have cougars, lynx, all the rest. So, you know, when you do live in a remote location, it is important to make sure that everything is protected. I think I've told you that about our trees, your animals. If you have animals, Ben, I know you're going to drive this to people home. It's important to make sure your animals are protected. So that is kind of where the story originates, and ever since then we've done everything we can to protect anything that lives here.
Which do you prefer so far, the geese or the chickens, or is it kind of hand in hand?
Well,
or do neither of them dislike you and you hate them all?
the chickens don't mind me. The geese hate me because I'm typically the one that locks them up at night. I will say that every animal has its own personality. Geese have their own personality. They're great alarms. People have this misconception that they're guard animals, and they won't do that. They are not going to fight a coyote. They are going to turn around and run. It's important to have geese on your homestead, though, as a first alarm. Think about it as like the smoke detector in your house. You know, it's one of those, they do have value. If somebody eats them, I'm not opposed to that. Not my favorite bird to eat. Eggs taste delicious. Don't eat them scrambled. It's a little, you know, it's not great scrambled. But they do look after the chickens. They do assist in a lot of things like that. And they also help us keep the yard down here. As you probably noticed, we let things grow a little high because we like to make a little bit of hay, give them a little bit of food, give them a little bit of things to forage at. You know, it's a lot of the things people don't realize with a farm is a lot of things mesh together and they go hand in hand. So, I mean, we get free manure off of them. As you can see with the blueberries and whatnot, we do a lot of upcycling like that. And I'm sure you do too.
Oh yeah, pallets especially for our fencing and everything. It makes it so much easier because it's free. I don't have to buy fencing or build fencing. It's already a 4x4 section.
Do you have a favorite place you go to?
Yes, and I'm not telling you where it is. Because I find everybody's got a like one store or one spot. Actually, it's a local spot that I know always has a ton of pallets, and they actually have some pallets that are perfect for fencing, and I steal them. Well, not steal. They give them to me because I can go pick them up.
I'm guessing they're all the exact same pallet and it's all uniform and all the rest.
Oh, it's beautiful, yeah.
Yes, see, that's the magic of why people ask where you get pallets, because they want that secret.
You're limited with what you can do here. You've made
Absolutely.
excellent use of your space, but you've only got 1 acre. So what are your plans for the future? Is this what you plan to do, is sort of expand here, or do you have plans to be able to sell more, grow more?
Oh, there's definitely plans for expansion. Some of the trees that we've already had here, Ben, like as you notice, like some of them here that we have some nice shade under to be able to relax for this interview. Some of these, I'm going to call it succession planning, where some of them, I'm going to have to take them out eventually. For example, this red maple that we're under is getting towards end of life, and a lot of its limbs are getting a little too out of control. So it's important to do a lot of plant maintenance and top working. Some of these trees, they're great for shade now, but they're going to affect production, not necessarily for fruit, but in terms of making, you know, clones and whatnot to make available for the public. So eventually we are going to clear out certain things. We've devoted certain space for others that only they can grow there. And then we've also done interplanting, which I'll show you later on with walnuts, where, like, for example, mulberries, serviceberry, hazelnuts, that sort of thing. Although they don't grow as tall, they're great understories and they're great companions for walnuts.
How has this been or even affected your community for everything that you grow here? Have you been able to share with friends, neighbors, family?
I've been able to share with a lot of friends, not so much neighbors. Honestly, just where we're not really in a very overly populated area. We do have a community center that we're going to be setting up our first night market. We've had people stop by in the community that want to see what we got. But our actual real public opening is going to be next year. We're going to try and offer a lot of things that people won't see. One big thing that we do want to do is get an actual greenhouse instead of our walk-in closet. So a lot of things, it's, you know, I'm just like everybody else, man. I'm just trying to make 10 cents stretch to $1 with the hobby that I'm really into. And it's hard. I mean, everybody can relate to that. $1 now is, you know, a lot of people don't think $1 is a lot, but sometimes somebody's got to make a stretch as far as they can.
Yeah, especially when it comes to food and good food. It's important to find food that's going to feed your family and food that's going to be more nutritious than I think what we can get at the grocery store right now.
Absolutely, man. I mean, you can go to the grocery store, you can go to Superstore now and get 2 kilos of frozen vegetables. I mean, yeah, it's more, but it ain't going to taste that great. You're going to have to jazz it up with other stuff. But when you pull a fresh carrot right out of the ground and, you know, and you put it in that soup or you put it in that stir fry, like, there's nothing that's going to taste better than that soup or that stir fry. Nothing, man, nothing.
Listen, I thank you very much. I appreciate this. I appreciate a tour to see everything, and I see some ripe blueberries. I might might be calling my name over there.
Well, they can call your name and you can help yourself, but I got a good treat for you. I actually got 2 plants that I set aside just for you guys, because I mean, it's great that you guys are actually out here trying to show the rest of the world that there's more to what's in a grocery store, man, especially within a community, in Little New Brunswick at that, man. So what we got here for you today is I got a pawpaw seedling, and I also got a fig tree for you as well. So you guys can be able to actually, like, after you had them, you can be able to grow them and you'll be able to enjoy them.
I'll have to get you to show me how to winterize that fig, because I will kill it. I am notorious for killing plants and forgetting about them.
No worries, man. A Chicago hardy fig, or hardy Chicago as most people call them, it's one of the most forgiving figs. And I'm telling you, once you have that fig, you're definitely going to want to baby that, brother. For sure, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Listen, man, I thank you so much for coming out. And again, I really appreciate you coming out and, you know, really showcasing small people that are trying to grow stuff, because it's super important, man.
I remember when I first pitched this to Bell, they were like, what, you're just going to go and like talk to farmers and stuff? And I was like, yeah. They're like, but people have seen that. People have seen cows and pigs. And I was like, oh, you don't know, because they're city slickers. They're from Toronto, right? So they don't know about small farms. They don't know about people like you and people like us. They see a farm, they're like, oh, a dairy operation or like a big meat packet? No. I'm talking, I care about and really want to see the small farmers, the people who do what you do because you love it, the people who have to have a day job because you can't make this work yet. It's harder to make this kind of passion a commercial operation, like you said, and be able to pay the bills, because this is a passion project. It's beautiful, and I wish we appreciated food more, but people don't.
Yeah, they don't. And I mean, at some point, you know, probably not in our lifetime, man, but I think within the next two to three generations, we're gonna have to see a massive shift in how just protein alone. If you look at how much of the 8 billion people on Earth now have incorporated, we'll even say 6 ounces of protein, you times that by 8 billion, even half of that, 4 billion, we simply do not have the land mass to support that level of protein production, and we have to explore other routes. There is no choice. It's not going to be in our lifetime, but we need to start now.
Do you think that's a problem with regards to waste? Because I feel like seeing stuff that goes bad on grocery store shelves, or even, I was saying this morning how distribution centers for grocery stores will just throw stuff away or give it away because it's not the right size, the carrots are kind of wonky. I think we live in a disposable society.
Everything is disposable, Ben. I think when you look at the way modern society is now, you go to Tim Hortons in the morning on your way to your 9 to 5 and you have that Tim Hortons cup. Most people just throw it out. They don't consider recycling it. And they look at that the same way as food. This apple has a bruise. It doesn't look pretty. The watermelon has a blemish on it. At the end of the day, that doesn't matter. Why are we throwing it out? It's programs like Loop and all these other types of platforms that are trying to get out there to make use of this stuff. Because if it's not deemed for human consumption, whatever the reason, an animal can surely use it. And I mean, that benefit to a small time farmer, like we have the geese and chickens here, they can utilize that. And what else is it going to benefit? The landfill? Flies? No, man, there's a better way.
Yeah.
There's a better way.
And it's even encouraging to hear about you guys starting a little market and stuff, because I find there's more and more regulations, and the grocery stores, I think, are a little scared of things. Our food bank said recently, I interviewed her, the executive director, and she said that we, in our small town of Woodstock, which I think has about 5,000, maybe 10,000 people in the surrounding area, she said they are gaining about 100 people a month that come to the food bank. And a lot of that food, like we said, is from the grocery store can't go to the food bank because of certain regulations, because it doesn't have a label, or it is slightly past its, if it's past its best before date, they can't give it to a food bank. It's considered waste now. Whereas you and I know if it's in our cupboard and it's past its best before date, I'm not throwing that out. I'm still going to probably try and eat that.
I'll be honest, I'm still eating that 2-year-old can of beans. Still doing it. But I absolutely agree with you, man. I mean, there's just so much waste in the world. If you look at how much waste we throw out, it's easily 1/3 of the world's food production. And we're just throwing it out when we could give it to livestock. We could feed our animals better. I mean, Ben, I don't know if a pig would overly care, but I know one thing, they're going to enjoy it. Their life is going to be a little bit better. I mean, at the end of the day, the end goal is to have a better quality source of food, whether it's protein or carbs or starch, what have you. At the end of the day, it's more important for that animal to get that to feed humans in a better way than just tossing in the landfill, man. It makes no sense to me.
I can tell you for a fact that a pig's life will be better. I know from experience they enjoy it, but I think it's even telling that the manure from your geese or your chicken is considered or called waste.
Yep.
Right, and that's not waste.
I use it for the blueberries.
It's a byproduct, and it is
Absolutely.
perfect for permaculture practices and allows you to be able to feed your plants.
100%. What am I going to do? Spend my Saturday afternoon throwing it in a garbage bag so I can go to a landfill? That's ridiculous, man. There's so much stuff that we have that people don't see a value in. I mean, old pieces of wood to hold up stakes for plants. I mean, you know, I'm going to show you here later on an old greenhouse frame that I'm going to use for my loganberries and boysenberries. It's just something to help them trellis. It's turning junk into something useful. And that really, with food, it really should be a paramount thing. It really should be given to all the livestock that we can, because it's just waste otherwise.
Yeah, it's got to feed me, and it's going to feed you, and it's going to come first full circle eventually. It shouldn't just go straight to a landfill.
Absolutely, man. To me, it's ludicrous that we even accept that as okay.
Yeah.
You know.
Have you gotten into composting at all?
I have gotten into composting a little bit. I find it, I have a very sensitive sense of smell, so it's not
Kind of nasty.
You know what? It's kind of like that cleaning, it's cleaning your house on Sunday chore. It's that one that I don't like to do. We all got to do it, but I do it slowly. I would love to learn more about it though, because I see a lot of people on like YouTube and whatnot, you know, worm casting.
Yeah, vermiculture. Yeah.
Yes, man. Like, I don't know a whole lot about that stuff. And the great thing about that and about what we're doing is it's a constantly learning process. You know, like now that you mention that, now it's like, yeah, I probably should pick up a little bit more.
Shit, I've been meaning to do that.
I feel called out here, Ben. I feel called out.
But that's great, even to have community as well, because we have a guy down the road that makes wood vinegar and biochar. And so the more that people get invested in those things, where you may be invested in grapes and figs, well, somebody down the road may be growing worms that you can use the worm castings for your plants. And that all goes around and comes back to getting sort of out of that money system of, I don't need to pay you for your worm castings, and you don't need to be paid for your grapes, but you can trade and you can barter. And I love a good barter system.
Oh man, bartering is the one thing that the government hates because they can't get a piece. And I mean, pay most of your taxes. Pay most of them. They shouldn't be into everything. Like if you have something I want, and we're gonna do a trade for plants for manure. Why does the tax man need to be involved? This is just two people trading things that they don't want, and for mutual benefit. I mean, I don't understand why more people don't get into that, because you don't have to put a dollar value on everything. Not everything has a dollar value.
Some things are just good for you because they're good for you.
Well, some things are good for you because they're good for you, like you say. That's a good one. But the other thing is, you know, one person's trash is another's treasure.
100%.
So it definitely does come hand in hand.
It's like pallets. Pallets are a waste product.
Pallets are the universal Swiss Army knife of wood.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe. We're trying to upload them every week now. We appreciate you watching.
Oh, the daddy camera.
Yeah, Daddy's camera.
We like the camera.
You like the camera? It's a good camera.
Good camera.
Yeah. Good job, buddy.